They needed a suspect. He was nearby. At 11:47 p.m., the street was already sealed with yellow tape. Red and blue lights bled into the windows of the quiet apartment block, staining the walls like fresh wounds. A woman lay dead inside Unit 3B. No witnesses. No weapon. No clear motive. Just silence, and a department under pressure. By morning, the city wanted answers. And by noon, they had a suspect. Before we dive into the main story, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell notification button for more interesting video like this. His name was Daniel Harper, a 28-year-old delivery driver who lived 2 buildings away. He had been finishing a late shift when the police arrived, hands still smelling of cardboard and motor oil. He didn't run. He didn't resist. He stood on the sidewalk, blinking against the lights, confused as an officer asked where he had been an hour earlier. "Nearby," he said. That was enough. The victim, Elena Ruiz, was found on her living room floor. No forced entry. No sign of struggle. Her phone lay shattered beside her, screen dark. The autopsy would later reveal a single blow to the head, precise, brutal, and fast. The apartment offered no clear clues. No fingerprints that didn't belong to Elena. No neighbors who heard anything beyond the usual city noise. The security camera in the hallway? Broken. Maintenance said it had been malfunctioning for weeks. The case had a clock on it. Media vans lined the street by sunset. A woman murdered in her own home made people afraid, and fear demanded a face. Daniel's face was convenient. He lived close. He was alone. He had no airtight alibi. When detectives asked where he'd been between 10:30 and 11:30, Daniel hesitated. He said he'd stopped behind the building to eat, scrolling his phone before heading home. No one else around. No receipt. No witnesses. Hesitation, the report would later say, suggested deception. They searched his apartment. Found nothing tied to Elena, no blood, no weapon, but they did find an old misdemeanor from years earlier, a bar fight he barely remembered. It was enough to color the narrative. By the third interview, the questions stopped being curious and started being sharp. You were there. You had time. She didn't know you, but you knew where she lived. Daniel kept saying the same thing. I didn't do this. His voice cracked every time. After 14 hours in a windowless room, Daniel was exhausted. He hadn't slept. He hadn't eaten. His requests to call his mother were noted and ignored. A detective slid a paper across the table. Look, he said, softer now. We know you didn't mean to. Accidents happen. But if you keep denying it, this gets worse. Daniel stared at the paper. His hands shook. They told him the evidence was overwhelming. That the cameras had placed him at the building. That his phone data confirmed his presence near Elena's apartment. None of it was true, but Daniel didn't know that. When he finally spoke, it wasn't a confession. It was a question. If I sign this, can I go home? The room went quiet. The prosecution's case was thin but confident. They painted Daniel as a quiet man with a violent past who snapped when opportunity appeared. They emphasized proximity. Timing. That 1 hour where no one could vouch for him. The jury listened. The media nodded along. Elena's family wept in the front row. They wanted justice. Daniel wanted air. His public defender tried to poke holes. No DNA, no murder weapon, no motive, but fear filled the gaps. The idea that a killer could simply walk away was worse than the idea of being wrong. Daniel was found guilty. He didn't cry when the verdict was read. He just looked behind him, searching the gallery, as if hoping someone, anyone, would meet his eyes and say this wasn't real. No one did. 3 years later, a new detective reopened the file. Not because of Daniel, but because of Elena's phone. A technician discovered something buried deep in the data, a deleted voicemail sent minutes before her death. It hadn't been recovered properly the first time. The voice wasn't Daniel's. It was someone Elena knew. Someone angry. Someone who had been arguing with her for weeks over money. That person lived across town. Not nearby. The real killer was arrested quietly. There was no rush this time. No cameras. Just paperwork and apologies that felt too small. Daniel walked out of prison at 31, older in the eyes than his years. The city called it a tragic mistake. The department issued a statement. Elena's family learned that justice, once rushed, can miss its target entirely. Daniel went home. But home no longer felt like safety. Because some nights, when sirens echo down the street, he still hears the words that changed his life. They needed a suspect. And he was nearby. Years later, Daniel received an anonymous letter. No return address. Just one sentence written in uneven ink. You were never meant to be the only one who paid. And to this day, no one knows who sent it, or what they knew. Want more stories like this? Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our story, because this is just getting started.